Can you believe it? I don't believe it. We're back for season 12. 12 seasons of watching this bonehead try to catch fish. This week, I'm not the only heckler Dave's gonna have on his back.
That's a baby bass, sweetheart. That's not a big bass.
Okay.
You really need to go up to a real lake and fish.
In a land like no other. On a lake like you've never seen. Well, maybe you've seen lakes like this. But there is an angler so great, he once set the hook so hard he turned a smallmouth into a largemouth. He can unscramble an egg. He made his first cast at the age of 3 and it landed yesterday. We join him to chronicle one day on one lake. This is Facts of Fishing, the show. Here we go. Welcome to Facts of Fishing, the show. Brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. Abu Garcia for life. Yamaha, Conquer Water. Live Target, lifelike lures. Action Car and Truck Accessories, the right customer experience. Berkeley, catch more fish. And Phoenix Bass Boats, experience the Phoenix difference.
What are they gonna eat today? Where are they gonna be? Where's Biggie gonna be? Will I catch anything? Do I have everything? They gotta be grouping up. Only one way to find out. Where are you at? Found the green weed. And we gotta find out what they're munching. There's some fish. Oh, come here. Oh, good one too. Look at the size of this fish. Oh, come here, dude. Come here. He's running at me. Oh, look at the size of this fish. Oh my goodness. This is a giant. This is a freak. Oh, I'm sorry. Look at the size of this fish. Oh my God. Come here. Stay on there. One hook. Look at the size of that fish right there. Man! Oh. And welcome to this episode of Facts of Fishing. That is a freak. That is an absolute giant. Inhaled that crankbait. That is an absolute giant. Wow. Look at the size of that fish. Crushed that big square bill. And this was a prime example of why you need the perfect rod. He was so good. Look at the size of that freak. That is a giant, giant bass. That's a legitimate 6-pluser right there. Maybe more. Man. What a beast. What a beast. Put him in a live well. I'll let him recoup for a little while before we let him go. Oh. That right there is the Christmas ham. All right, that's it. Show, it's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. That'd be it. I mean, if we were a hunting show, I mean, those guys got it. I mean, the hunting shows, I mean, they get one. I mean, I got a trophy. take a bunch of pictures. Let's go back to the lodge. But it's not. So I will continue to battle for you. Not so much you or you, but you right there. I'm battling for you.
This segment is brought to you by Abu Garcia for life.
You know, people see a deck full of rods and they wonder why you have so many rods. Well, I'm gonna explain it right now. And if you've got a partner in your life that says, hey, you have too many rods, this is your opportunity. Call them in the room. I'm gonna explain it. It is so important to have the right rod for the job. I mean, sure, they all just, if you look at them, they all look the same, but just so do golf clubs. You look at a bunch of golf clubs into, a non-golfer, they pretty much look the same too. You take a crankbait, it's so important to throw the right tools for it. This Veritas winch here is the perfect rod for throwing a crankbait, just because you see the way that tip always has bend in it? I want a soft tip on my crankbait rods for two reasons. Number one, when I'm working that bait, it allows me to feel everything. It allows me to feel every thump of that bait, and if that bait stops thumping, I know there's probably a fish on it, or maybe I picked up a weed and it'll allow me to pop that and get it off. It also acts as basically an elastic band. I mean, you get one of those big fish beside the boat and it starts surging, you need that give in your rod. So that is the answer why you have so many rods. You need the right rod for the job every single time. And this is definitely the right rig to be throwing a crankbait on. Oh my God, that was wrapped around the tip. We are going to get that bait. Here's a tip for you. If you tie a really bad knot, it is so helpful to throw a floating bait. I mean, because if I wasn't throwing a floating bait, the bait would be totally gone. But of course, being a professional angler like I am, tied a floating bait, so I'll just go back and retrieve it. My only real worry in this situation is that a giant fish comes and eats it before I get there. Dun, 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 dun. So like I was saying, it is so important to check your line. A lot of times people will go fishing in weeds and not check their line. They think, don't have to worry, I'm not in rocks, but weeds are incredibly abrasive and you should always check your line. And don't be a fool and break off or something like that. Who would do something like that? When you do retie a bait, don't be so cheap. I'll take, 10, 12 feet of line off that spool just to get into fresh line. And it's just simply because if you think about it, the way a crankbait runs, 10 to 20 feet of that line has been running through those weeds and feeling that abrasion. You might not feel it, but, and maybe it's just a confidence thing for me. I'll just always take, 10 to 20 feet of line, strip it off, start fresh, and fish with confidence. Because if you don't do that, the only real option is to be one of those fools who makes mistakes, and clearly I am not one of those fools. Oh, fish. Another big one. Ah, he's not that big, but he's another one. Just swatted at that crankbait. Come here, Junior. Little dude like that is all right. Fish, little one. Little one just loaded up on that bait. We found out what they're munching. Aren't you tired of tuning into fishing shows? That, I mean, they catch a bunch of, you know, decent little chunkers, and then they catch the big one at the end. No, not us. Today, a giant to begin with, then rats for the entire rest of the episode.
The rods in today's episode were threaded using the RTD rod threading device. So just how big a bass was that square bill munchin' monster? 8 pounds. That's right, we weighed that bad boy and it's officially the biggest Canadian bass ever caught on Facts of Fishing. Silly Dave. Big bass are supposed to come at the end of a fishing show, not the start.
Man, there's so much thump in the water. And truly, that is what makes this bait so special. You know, all the thump that it puts in the water. It's all about water displacement. These baits I'm throwing, it's a Magnum bait ball square bill. And it's a much, much bigger square bill than most people are used to throwing. If you look at this bait, I'll just get it in here real quick. If you look at how thick this bait is, what you have to think about is water displacement, and big fish love things that move water. Bigger bait fish move water, and this thing, when it runs through the water, if you put this parallel beside another crankbait, it's amazing how much more water it displaces. And why does water displacement matter? Well, those fish feel it. All I feel is thump, 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 thump. That same thump that I'm feeling the whole way back to the boat, those fish are feeling it, and those big fish feel that. And I'm telling you, big Magnum square bills like this, they just seem to get bigger bites. And remember, you're not fishing for every single fish with this bait. I mean, you're fishing for the ones. El Grande. Tiny fish. How come they always get it? How come Junior always gets it? Look at this. Rock bass. See what I tell you? This bait catches the bigger than average size fish, and that right there is a bigger than average size raguni. The rock bass.
I don't even know if I've seen a rock bass on a show.
Somebody just yelled off. Did you hear that?
Yeah, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's really what happened.
Really? Beautiful. Beautiful.
Here she comes.
Oh, good.
My name's Dave, but you can call me that, I guess. How are you this morning? Fish. I'm getting yelled at by the local and catching giants. Right here, this is really happening. What's that? What's...
Take your daddy's boat and off to a real lake.
No, this is my dad's. This is my boat.
Yeah.
Look at the size of that fish right there.
Daddy's money. That's a baby bass, sweetheart. That's not a big bass.
Okay.
Ma'am, please, we're working.
Look at him filming it like, oh, I got a big one.
Keep filming it. Stay on it.
You really need to go up to a real lake and fish.
Okay. Can you please try going outside not wearing pajamas?
I don't think you could handle a real rod, buddy.
No, I can't.
Look at that monster!
This is real, people.
What are you doing? You got a real fish on.
This is real, people. This is really happening. I mean, you know, you wonder, what's it like to host a fishing show? that's what it's like. I mean, I caught pretty good fish, got trash talked by the locals, and life is good. She said it's a baby bass.
Not a big bass.
Oh man, it's all about moving water. And I've got I'm trying to be real cool here, but I really got a situation. I have come on around here, friends. Let's be open. I mean, I just got yelled at, and now I got a Magnum bait ball square bill in my junk. Oh my goodness. I gotta get the, okay. There we go. That's just straight up Magnum. No, Magnum, if you know what I mean.
That's a baby bass, sweetheart.
This segment is brought to you by Hook Performance Fishing.
Man, that thing tanked it, swimming with it. Look at that sexy fish right there. They are munching now, my friends. They are munching now. Num num time is a good time. Whew. I mean, every single one of these fish. I mean, this lake is pretty much, I mean, Nothingville when you get 30 feet out from the shore, but there is one of the most distinct drops ever, and these fish are loaded on it. Good girl. Oh. Oh, another giant. Wow, look at the size of this fish. Man, it's been in my head haunting me. Switch up. That was literally my first cast with a spinnerbait. Whew, it just goes to show you, if you're ever thinking something, you got that little voice in your head saying, do this. Don't push it away, because it usually pays off. There's a fish. Big one too. Oh, the key. These big fish, when you hook them, take your time with them. I mean, I saw this fish, and that's the easiest time to lose a giant. As soon as you see it, you get all excited, you want it in the boat. But if you just take your time and let that rod do its job. I'm gonna lay all over my rods to grab this one. That's a decent chunk right there. Man, this fish was a prime example of how important it is to have that big, spongy rod when you're throwing a crankbait. I mean, this thing, if I had a stiff rod, I'm telling you, would have lost him. Fish. Oh, giant. Oh my goodness, this is a giant. Whoa, look at the size of this fish. Oh man. another giant. It is the day of the freak panda. Oh man, look at that thing. Oh, what a fish. That thing was hooked. Whew.
Dave fished for 6 hours, made 256 casts, and caught 8 fish, including his giant 8-pounder that he really wants people to remember. Now, time for the facts. Dave caught most of today's fish on a live target Magnum Shad bait ball square bill thrown on a 7-foot medium heavy action Abu Garcia Veritas winch casting rod. Paired with an Abu Garcia Revo winch bait casting reel, spooled up with 10-pound test Berkley 100% fluorocarbon. Dave also threw a Berkley power bait, the General, rigged on a Trokar TK130 extra wide gap hook, thrown using a 7-foot medium heavy action Villain casting rod. Paired with an Abu Garcia Revo Rocket bait casting reel, spooled up with 15-pound test Berkley X5 braided line, with a 10-pound test Berkley 100% fluorocarbon leader. And that's the facts.